What if one private phone call could send P. Diddy to jail and ruin his reputation forever? On the surface, it was just a phone call. No press release. No entourage. No recording studio. Just Sean P. Diddy Combs, isolated, cornered by legal pressure and public scrutiny, dialing a number that hasn't been on his speed dial in years. Cassie Ventura. In this video, we're going to explore and uncover the real reason why P. Diddy called Cassie Ventura 10 years after breakup. And if you like watching videos like this, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notification so you'll be the first to know when we upload new videos. The woman who once stood silently in his shadow. The one who left without spectacle. The one who, until now, had refused to become part of the tabloid theater. She picked up. And what he reportedly said in that call has ignited more questions than answers. It's your time, lead them. 8 words. One cryptic message. But those words, if true, weren't just a private goodbye. They may be the spark that upends everything. His legacy, her role in the culture, and the foundations of an industry that has protected power for too long. This isn't just a story about a man and a woman. It's a story about a regime reaching its end and a quiet survivor potentially stepping into a new light. It's about control, confession, and consequence. Why did Diddy make that call when he did, on the eve of a major legal escalation? What did he hope to accomplish with those final words? And more importantly, what does Cassie plan to do with them? What happens when someone with nothing left to lose finally speaks? Over the next few minutes, we're going to unpack the real story behind that phone call. We'll pull apart timelines, revisit old wounds, and track how one moment of raw honesty could reshape the future of hip-hop, fame, and personal power. One final call. One silent witness. And a legacy on the verge of collapse. Let's get into it. The call came quietly, but its ripple effect was anything but. Sources close to the situation say it happened late on a Thursday night, just hours before news broke about a fresh wave of legal allegations circling Sean Combs. While attorneys and crisis teams scrambled behind closed doors, Diddy reportedly did something that blindsided everyone. He picked up his phone, bypassed advisors, and called Cassie Ventura directly. No handlers. No legal intermediaries. Just him. According to multiple insider reports, some from assistants who overheard the conversation, others from Cassie's inner circle, this wasn't a casual or accidental call. It was deliberate, calculated, yet emotionally raw. It lasted approximately 3 minutes. No small talk. No apologies. Just a statement that hit like an electric charge. It's your time, lead them. This wasn't a plea for forgiveness. It wasn't a public relations move. In fact, Diddy had nothing to gain publicly by making the call, unless he knew it would eventually be leaked. Unless he wanted it to be. So, what does a call like this mean? One former music executive familiar with both artists described it as a king abdicating his throne in secret. A final move from someone who once orchestrated empires with a flick of a wrist, now reaching for spiritual relevance when legal redemption seems impossible. Whether that's grandiosity or genuine reflection is up for debate. And Cassie's response? According to sources, she said almost nothing. Just silence on the other end. Maybe shock. Maybe power. Maybe peace. This call came nearly 6 years after Cassie broke ties with Combs, a relationship defined as much by creative codependence as it was by personal control. And now, just as Diddy's empire begins to erode, he reaches out to the one person who walked away first. The timing isn't just curious, it's poetic. But here's where things get murky. No recording of the call has surfaced. No official confirmation from either party. Diddy's team has remained silent. Cassie's reps have declined comment. Still, multiple independent sources tell the same story, and industry blogs have begun treating the call as fact. Is it real? That's the wrong question. The real question is, why now? Why Cassie? Why that message? If this was truly his final direct contact with her, it wasn't a goodbye. It was a torch passing. Or maybe a confession. Maybe a challenge. Whatever it wasn't random. And it might be the only unscripted thing Diddy's done in decades. The industry is still scrambling to decode what it means. Meanwhile, the silence from Cassie is getting louder. 8 words. That's all it took to split the entertainment world down the middle. It's your time, lead them. What sounds like encouragement could also be read as resignation, regret, or even a strategic handoff. In a world where every word from a celebrity is focus grouped and filtered, this single sentence, if genuine, feels seismic. Let's break it down. It's your time. That phrase alone acknowledges what Diddy never did publicly, that Cassie's presence was always more than ornamental. In their 10-year relationship, she was portrayed as the quiet partner, the muse, the background figure. But those words shift the frame. He's admitting she was never just a passenger. She was always a driver in waiting. Lead them.
Who is them?
The music industry? Women? Survivors? Creators? Diddy's empire was built on control, over image, over sound, over people. By saying lead them, he either relinquishes that control or admits he never had it to begin with. Either way, it's a transfer of symbolic power. And in hip-hop, symbolism is everything. Fans are split. Some see the phrase as a deeply personal moment of humility from a man finally facing his own reckoning. Others call it manipulative, a last-ditch effort to frame himself as a visionary instead of a villain. The timing, they argue, is too perfect. Just before legal heat intensifies, he plays the mentor card. Cultural critics, meanwhile, see something more layered. To them, this isn't just about Cassie. It's about the death of the old model, the male mogul as gatekeeper, and the rise of something new. Women who were once silenced, sexualized, or sidelined are now setting the agenda. Diddy's phrase might be less a prophecy and more a reflection of a truth already unfolding. But here's the twist. Diddy never says, "Forgive me," "Sorry," or "You were right." He doesn't acknowledge the alleged harm. That's what makes this moment so complicated. It's powerful, but it's not accountability. And Cassie's silence? That's power, too. Because the real question isn't what he meant, it's what she will do with it. For decades, Sean Combs was untouchable. Now the empire is bleeding. To understand the weight of that phone call to Cassie, you have to understand where Diddy stood before making it, and how far he's fallen since. For over 20 years, Diddy was more than a music mogul. He was the pulse of hip-hop culture, a master of reinvention. From No Way Out to making the band, from Sean John to Ciroc, he transformed himself from rapper to businessman to kingmaker. His influence wasn't confined to sound. It spanned fashion, television, nightlife, and social capital. But behind the billion-dollar branding, whispers always followed him. Quiet allegations, NDA settlements, uneasy glances from people who'd worked too closely for too long. Then in late 2023, the dam cracked. Cassie Ventura, silent for years, filed a lawsuit alleging years of abuse, control, and manipulation at Diddy's hands. The complaint was specific, graphic. It included not only emotional trauma but claims of physical and sexual violence. Diddy denied it swiftly, calling the accusations offensive and outrageous. Days later, the case was quietly settled. That didn't stop the flood. Other lawsuits followed, one from a former producer, another from a staff member, each with their own accusations of misconduct, coercion, or retaliation. Suddenly, the media machine that once celebrated Diddy's every move turned its focus inward. The narrative shifted.
Fast.
Deals were paused. Appearances canceled. Brand partners distanced themselves. There were no defiant Instagram videos. No red carpet rebuttals. Just silence and lawyers. This is the context in which Diddy allegedly made that call to Cassie. Not from a place of strength, but from a moment of collapse. Some insiders see the call as the beginning of a redemption arc. The first step toward rehumanizing a public figure whose reputation is under siege. But others see it as pure damage control. A desperate bid to reconnect with the one person who could either validate him or completely dismantle him. There's also the question of timing. The call reportedly came right before a major deposition in another case. It's hard to ignore the possibility that this was a strategic move. Say something emotionally significant, let it leak, and change the narrative. Not through PR. Through legacy. And yet, Diddy isn't just facing legal fallout. He's watching his cultural capital disintegrate. Younger artists no longer seek his validation. His name doesn't trend for music anymore. It trends for controversy. The power he once wielded through mystery and mythology is slipping. In that context, the phone call becomes more than a message. It becomes a surrender. A moment of rare vulnerability or cunning foresight. Either way, it signals the truth. Diddy's era of dominance is over. What comes next, redemption or reckoning, depends on what happens in the wake of that whisper to Cassie. For years, Cassie Ventura was the face that stood beside the power. Now, she's emerging as the voice that might redefine it. When the public first met Cassie in 2006, she was the effortless cool girl behind the hit single Me and You. The song was minimalist, hypnotic, and so was she. But as the hit rose up the charts, so did whispers about who was guiding her career behind the scenes. The answer? Sean Combs. Their professional relationship quickly turned personal. And for the next decade, Cassie became a fixture in Diddy's world. Red carpets, studio sessions, Instagram glimpses. Always there, but never quite in focus. Never speaking on her own terms. To many, she was seen as a muse. A modern-day beauty standing beside one of the most powerful men in music. But what most people missed was what she wasn't doing. Releasing music. Taking creative risks. Owning her platform. Over the span of 10 years, Cassie released fewer than a dozen songs. Her voice was shelved while others in Diddy's orbit soared. And then in 2018, she left. No press conference. No public feud.
Just gone.
Quietly and completely. She disappeared from his orbit and slowly, almost invisibly, began to rebuild her life. Cassie reemerged in 2019 with a new relationship, a marriage, children, and for the first time, a sense of personal stability that had nothing to do with music charts or label politics. She posted freely, spoke confidently, built a following not on hype, but on authenticity. The transformation was quiet but powerful. She was no longer Diddy's girl. She was simply Cassie. That's what makes the phone call so significant. It wasn't just a reconnection, it was a reversal of roles. For Diddy to say, "It's your time, lead them," is to acknowledge something that had already happened. Cassie had become a leader in her own right. Not with album sales or award speeches, but through her departure, her silence, and her reinvention. She became a symbol of walking away and winning anyway. Her fans now view her as more than a singer. She's a figure of quiet resistance. Proof that you don't need to burn bridges to break chains. She didn't have to trash Diddy in interviews. She didn't need to cash in on exposés. She simply lived her truth, and it spoke louder than headlines. And now, in the wake of Diddy's collapse, Cassie's narrative hits differently. That phone call wasn't just a personal message. It was a public shift in energy. She's not being handed power. She's being recognized for the power she already claimed. What happens next is entirely up to her. She could step into the spotlight again, speak, lead, create, rebuild. Or she could continue her quiet rebellion, reminding the world that not every revolution has to be televised. Either way, the industry and the culture are watching. In a Miami mansion now shadowed by scandal, there's said to be a safe. And on that safe, a single name, Cassie. It sounds like the plot of a thriller, but multiple sources close to Diddy's former inner circle have confirmed the same strange rumor. Inside the mogul's estate, specifically in his private office, there is a steel drawer or vault, marked not with a label or serial number, but allegedly, with Cassie Ventura's name etched or taped on its face. No one knows exactly what's inside, but the speculation is electric. Some say it holds unreleased music, Cassie's original demos, projects she recorded during her time with Diddy that never saw the light of day. Others whisper about signed contracts, private correspondence, or handwritten notes, things that could reveal how much control Diddy exercised over her career and voice. But the most extreme theories go further. Surveillance footage, confidential documents, even recordings of conversations, evidence of how their relationship really functioned behind closed doors. Is it true? We don't know. The existence of the safe hasn't been independently verified. No images. No confirmation. But insiders are treating it as real, and in the absence of facts, the speculation has become part of the story. Why would Diddy keep something like that?
Power.
Control.
Memory.
Maybe all three. He's always been a master of narrative, and controlling the artifacts of his legacy has been part of his brand. Whether it's footage, photos, or files, he's curated his mythology carefully. That safe might not be a weapon, it might be a time capsule. Or a ticking one. And now, in the wake of his downfall, its existence takes on a new weight. If there really is a safe tied to Cassie, and if its contents are ever made public, it could change everything, shift blame, reframe their story, and rewrite the last 20 years of hip-hop history. One entertainment lawyer said it plainly. If the safe is real and it holds anything even remotely explosive, it's not just gossip. It's evidence. For Cassie, the knowledge of its existence, if she knows, could either feel threatening or empowering. And for Diddy, it may be the final card he thinks he still holds. Or the one that could bury him completely. Until that drawer is opened, figuratively or literally, one thing is certain. The mystery inside it has already rewritten the stakes. When the news of the call leaked, the entertainment industry didn't react with silence. It flinched. Then it split. Within hours of the phrase, "It's your time, lead them," surfacing in insider blogs and social media threads, the digital wildfire began. Not just fans, artists, producers, executives, even journalists started chiming in. Some called it poetic. Others, pathetic. Let's start with the believers. In one corner, there's a vocal group of artists, particularly women, who see the move as symbolic. A mogul stepping aside. A woman finally being seen. They argue that Diddy, despite his flaws, recognized Cassie's potential and, in a moment of vulnerability, gave her the recognition she was long denied. An anonymous R&B artist tweeted, "Cassie was never just a side story. That call feels like the beginning of something major. Maybe it's finally her time." A popular podcast host known for dissecting celebrity power dynamics said, "This isn't just about Cassie. This is about every woman who is treated like a footnote in a man's empire." These voices view the moment as transformational, a breaking of the glass ceiling, even if it came with a crack instead of a crash.
But not everyone is buying it.
To critics, the call wasn't power passing. It was PR. A carefully timed stunt designed to shift public perception before legal proceedings buried Diddy's brand for good. They point to the fact that there's no official acknowledgement. No apology. Just a leak, vague enough to sound profound and specific enough to make headlines. One music journalist posted bluntly, "You don't get to crown someone after you spent a decade dimming their light." A former label exec added, "This is calculated. It's image management." He knows exactly what narrative this sets up, and he's hoping Cassie carries it without saying a word. And then there's the group caught in between, industry insiders who understand how power moves work. They're not surprised by the call. They're surprised it took this long. Behind the scenes, conversations are growing louder about the long-standing imbalance in music empires, moguls who silence, sideline, and stall talent, especially women, until they either conform or disappear. Cassie's situation has become a flashpoint for that broader discussion. And it's not just the music world feeling it. Fashion brands that once courted Diddy are now reportedly reevaluating partnerships. His appearances at major events have either been quietly canceled or overshadowed by protest. A prominent sneaker company that once co-sponsored his parties declined to comment on their current relationship. Meanwhile, Cassie's name is trending more than it has in years. Not because she dropped a new track, but because she might be holding the key to a cultural reckoning. The reaction from younger artists is particularly telling. Gen Z rappers and producers, many of whom grew up on Diddy's music, are now distancing themselves from the legacy entirely. They're not just rejecting the man. They're rejecting the system he helped build. A viral TikTok summed it up like this. If Diddy's call was the torch pass, we're watching the last breath of the old music industry. That may be extreme, but the cultural rift is real. Trust is breaking. Institutions are cracking. And whether Diddy intended it or not, the call has become more than a personal moment. It's a symbol. One that forces the industry to ask itself, what are we really applauding? Power or transformation? Something deeper is happening beneath the headlines. This isn't just a scandal, it's a reckoning with energy, with identity, with legacy. Cassie Ventura isn't speaking publicly, but she's being heard in a way she never was before. And that silence? It's not passive. It's intentional. Cultural critics and spiritual leaders alike have started interpreting her journey not just as a personal escape from toxicity, but as a broader symbol of rebirth, a shedding of old cycles, a reclaiming of voice. In a landscape dominated by male control and manufactured image, Cassie now represents something increasingly rare: uncoached authenticity. And after that call, she's not just seen as a survivor, she's being positioned as a messenger. There's a shift here that mirrors a growing cultural hunger. We're moving away from fame built on domination and toward influence earned through integrity, healing, and truth. Cassie, without trying to be a revolutionary, has become the embodiment of that shift. And Diddy, intentionally or not, placed the crown on her head with those 8 words. She's a vessel now, said one spiritual advisor who works with artists and creatives in Hollywood. She walked away from the fire. She didn't scream or throw stones. And that's why her presence feels sacred right now. It's untouched. This sentiment isn't limited to metaphysical circles. Even within the music industry, there's growing appreciation for how Cassie's quiet choices, stepping away, building a family, refusing to exploit her trauma, have made her the most credible person in the room without saying a word. That's why the phrase "lead them" has sparked so much attention. It isn't about running a label or dropping an album. It's about energy, vibration, influence beyond algorithms and airplay. It's about leading by simply being. In an era defined by performative activism and fake vulnerability, Cassie's strength feels unmarketed,
Pure.
and in that, she's giving people something they didn't know they were craving. A model of reinvention that doesn't scream, but resonates. Whether she chooses to speak up, stay silent, or create again, Cassie now holds something very few people in entertainment ever achieve: the power to move culture without asking for it. For every fact that's emerged in this story, there are 3 more questions waiting in the dark. This is what happens when legacy, legal warfare, and silence collide. Truth becomes fluid. And in the absence of confirmation, speculation becomes currency. Let's start with the obvious. There's been no official acknowledgement of the call from either Diddy or Cassie. Not through a lawyer. Not through social media. Not even through the usual back channels of industry sources who drop tidbits to soften headlines. That silence has created a vacuum. And as with any high-profile mystery, the vacuum is now filled with theories, some plausible, some wild, all compelling. Theory 1. The call was a final peace offering. In this view, Diddy made the call to offer a moment of truth before more damage surfaced. Not to clear his name, but to clear his conscience. A parting gesture, a private attempt at redemption, one he may have known would eventually leak. Theory 2. It was strategic misdirection. Some believe the call and the leak about it were planned, a way to redirect public attention from court filings and depositions. After all, if people are talking about symbolism and Cassie's empowerment, they're not focusing on legal strategy or possible criminal exposure. It's narrative jujitsu. Theory 3. There's more we haven't heard. Insiders whisper that the call wasn't the only contact. There may have been messages, recordings, even veiled threats or manipulations leading up to it. The 3-minute story may be the version we're supposed to believe, while a deeper, more uncomfortable version stays buried for now. Adding to the mystery is the tight lock around Cassie's circle. Her team has been silent. No anonymous quotes. No leaked texts. No behind-the-scenes commentary. That kind of discipline is rare in today's media environment, and it only fuels the intrigue. Meanwhile, media outlets are divided. Some treat the call as legend, others as leaked truth. But no one can confirm it fully. Even the outlets running the story with insider quotes are careful to frame them with hedges. Allegedly, reportedly, a source close to the situation. So, what are we actually left with? A phrase, a moment, a mystery. And that may be the point. By leaving the call unconfirmed, both parties maintain control, Cassie over her image and Diddy over his intent. It's Schrodinger's phone call, simultaneously an olive branch and a manipulation, a truth and a tactic. Until someone speaks, or until new evidence surfaces, we're all just reading shadows on the wall.